Hello, and welcome to today's episode about Baby Roadmap. What are your options? Most clients we meet move from trying naturally to let's do IVF. And for some of them, they can't wait to get started with IVF. And for others, they would want to try out everything else before moving into the world of the assisted reproductive techniques. So today I'm going to lay out the several steps prior to IVF and share them with you so that you get to know what your options truly are. I'm so excited and can't wait to start. So let's grab a cup of tea and get started. Hello and a warm welcome to my brand new podcast show, Your Fertility Counsellor. I'm your host, Tanya Fessler, and together we will dive into all things fertility, offering support, expert insights, and practical evidence-based advice for anyone navigating their fertility journey. So grab a cup of tea and make yourself comfortable. Let's get started. Thank you for being here and for joining me on another show here today. Today, it's really all about the baby roadmap and what are your options. We created Baby Roadmap some years back when we got similar questions from our clients over and over again in our sessions. And these questions were all around, yes, we understand that from the doctor, he told us that we can't get pregnant naturally and the only other way is IVF. And we seem to have tried everything. And when we started to ask them a little bit more questions about what everything meant, it was from trying for 6 months or 12 months naturally and then moving on to IVF. So the World Health Organization recommends for couples that are below 35 years to try for 12 consecutive months before consulting a fertility specialist. And for those couples that are 35 years and above, they usually recommend to try for 6 consecutive months. If you have been one of them and you have been trying naturally for those 6 or 12 months and you haven't experienced any pregnancy during the duration of trying, then we have those clients that would go straight to a fertility doctor and then discuss the options. Now, there are maybe some steps that you can take on your own before consulting a doctor. Step number 1 would usually be, yes, you have unplanned intercourse, there is no tracking involved, no medication, and you are still in your 6 to 12 months. In step number 2, we usually then discuss with the clients how you can start planning a little bit more. For planning, you would need to know the duration of your cycle, you would need to know when you ovulate, and you would need to know a little bit more about the fertile days so that you can start planning a little bit more around it. If it still doesn't work, also with the help of planning, then you might want to move to step number 3, which is really tracking ovulation. This is when some women would go out and buy an ovulation kit that you can usually buy at the pharmacy stores. In some countries, you get them even in a supermarket, and you could really start tracking whether ovulation is taking place or not. To be 100% sure if ovulation really took place, some of our clients would even consult a gynecologist and do a scan so that they would have more certainty about whether ovulation happened or not. That scan should ideally happen during your fertile days, just before you ovulate, because then the doctor can confirm that he or she can see an egg, a follicle that is growing and that is about to ovulate. and after ovulation, because that follicle should actually have disappeared then from the ovary. And that would help to confirm that ovulation really happened. If you want to go even deeper into this, you could take a blood test before and after ovulation, because that will show you clearly, black on white, that you had all the hormones before ovulation that were actually growing and going into a peak. And then you have the hormones slowly starting to disappear or reduce after ovulation, and others to increase actually. So that will be your ultimate test. Step number 4 is for some people who actually then find out that they were not ovulating, so the follicle was growing, but at the end, they just missed to have enough of the luteal hormone to actually make the egg to really ovulate. So they might need to reach out to the gynecologist for some additional help to get support for follicle growth or ovulation on a medical base. And only then, if you have gone through all of this and still no pregnancy is happening, maybe that's the time when you want to engage in more testing. That would be then your next step, so that you get a baseline of really like, what does your hormones look like? How does the sperm sample look like? So usually we advise for a couple, for both of them to do these tests, because then it really would give you the correct baseline of how things look like and where are you at this moment. Keep in mind that hormones are very much correlated to brain activity. So meaning that most of the hormones for fertility are actually coming from your brain. And we want to ensure that, you are in a good state, don't feel much under pressure, don't have high stress at work or in your life in general, so that it would really give you a great snapshot. If for whatever reasons you are in a phase of life where there is lots going on beside you trying for a pregnancy, then just want for you to know, keep in mind that all of these hormones reports are always a snapshot. Your hormones are volatile. That means that they can change even from week to week, month to month. So if you take a hormonal test in your first month and then you take another one 3 months later, it can look different. So just keep in mind that hormones are fluctuating in our body. So when you go in and you take a blood test to do a hormonal test, it's really a snapshot of just now, how things are now. The last thing is the natural next steps. In some countries, they make it mandatory to do first an IUI before you move on to IVF. IUI is an intrauterine insemination, which means that women would go to see their doctor to scan and track their follicles and scan when ovulation is happening. Some doctors prefer to give a trigger shot, so to say, 24 hours before ovulation happens, so that they can ensure that ovulation is happening. And then instead of having intercourse, you would get your partner's sperms being injected through your cervix into your womb, so that your sperms can start to travel all the way up the uterus into your fallopian tubes and wait for the princess to be ovulated and arrive. So as you can see, we have several steps involved, and this is why we came up with this tool, the baby roadmap, because it really lays out all your options there. People like to have options in life. Not too many sometimes, because we can get overwhelmed about it, but to know that there are options here. And this is so important, that you as a couple can have a really great conversation now about like these several steps until you ultimately would want to make a decision about like, okay, if up until step 4 it didn't work out despite us taking our hormones and trying everything to support follicle growth and ovulation, shall we now discuss about IUI or IVF? As I said, in some countries it's mandatory to do first 1 to 3 IUIs before you can actually move into IVF. This is simply because it's either a regulatory request or it's because maybe some of your countries are subsidizing the IVF and make it more affordable, and that's why certain steps need to be involved. So if you have any questions about baby roadmap or countries' regulations or how to have a conversation with your partner, you know that we are here for you. We have been working in over 15,000 sessions with our clients on their baby roadmap. We have supported them to get pregnant naturally, as well as through IUI and IVF and even donor programs. So if you want to reach out to any of us, please visit our website and make an online appointment with us today. We can't wait to hear back from you how this has been hopefully helpful to you and your journey. And as I said, we are looking forward to next week's episode to share many more tips and much more wisdom with you from our experience and knowledge from 12 years working in this field. Thank you. Can't wait to be back here with you next week. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Fertility Counsellor podcast. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. If you need support or have any questions, reach out to us via email at inquiries@counselingconnects.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Fertility Connects. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to learn more about us and the services we offer, head to www.fertilityconnects.com. And if you're looking for support beyond fertility, visit www.counselingconnects.com. Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode.